Two people eat the same foods, live the same way. Yet one gradually becomes healthier, while the other grows sicker year after year. What quietly determines that outcome is not the food itself, but the thoughts you repeat every day. My name is Ethan Marshall. I am a 60-year-old physician practicing in the United States, and I want to begin this video with a truth that may make you uncomfortable. Two people can follow the same diet, live in the same environment, yet one remains healthy while the other carries illness for many years. And the cause is not on the plate of food. Over more than 3 decades working with thousands of patients, I have come to see that there is a silent but decisive factor that is almost always overlooked. Before we go deeper into this story, if you are interested in natural health, healing at the root, and perspectives that modern medicine rarely speaks about openly, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like, and share this video. Your support allows me to continue creating content that is honest, in-depth, and truly helpful to the community. The story begins during a very ordinary medical visit. A patient looked at me and asked, "Doctor, my brother and I eat almost exactly the same things. Why am I so much sicker than he is?" I did not answer right away. Instead, I asked him, "Do you live with a lot of worry?" The man remained silent for a long time. That moment reflected something I have seen repeated for many years. Human beings do not only absorb food through the mouth, they also absorb thoughts and emotions every single day. We can be extremely careful about what we eat, yet completely careless with our inner world. I have seen people who eat exceptionally healthy diets but live under constant pressure, fear, and resentment, and their bodies cannot recover. On the other hand, there are people whose diets are far from perfect, yet their minds are light and calm, and their health improves more than expected. This is not a coincidence. Clinical experience shows that prolonged stress changes how the body responds to the same food and the same daily habits. When the mind lives in a constant state of defense, the body does the same. This is the context we must face directly. If we talk only about diet and ignore inner life, we are missing half of the picture of health. And I want you to pause here and ask yourself one simple question. In your opinion, what is affecting your health more right now? A, what you eat, or B, what you think every day? Choose A or B and leave a comment below. I would truly like to read your answer. The second part focuses on the mind-body principle, a core foundation for understanding why human health cannot be explained by diet or surface-level lifestyle alone. At the biological level, every thought and emotion triggers specific reactions in the body through the nervous system and the endocrine system. The brain does not distinguish between a physical threat and a threat created by thought. In both cases, the body responds by releasing chemical messengers such as stress hormones and neural signals. These reactions directly affect heart rate, breathing, muscle tone, digestive activity, and immune regulation. Thoughts, therefore, are not abstract or purely psychological factors, but part of an ongoing chain of biological mechanisms within a living body. When the mental state is stable, neural signals tend to harmonize, allowing the endocrine system to maintain balance and support nutrient absorption and tissue repair. In contrast, when the mind is dominated by prolonged stress, the sympathetic nervous system remains frequently activated, prioritizing the fight-or-flight response over functions of preservation and regeneration. This explains why, with the same diet and the same health approach, different bodies can respond so differently. Clinical practice shows that individuals who maintain mental stability often respond better to nutritional interventions and sensible fasting, because their bodies are in a state of readiness to receive and adjust. The mind-body principle emphasizes that the body and mind do not operate as separate systems, but as a unified whole, where change in one inevitably leads to adjustment in the other. When the mind is oriented toward positivity and order, biological responses tend to shift toward energy conservation, improved digestion, and recovery. Conversely, Prolonged disturbance in mental life can weaken the body's inherent self-regulating mechanisms. Therefore, any sustainable approach to health must place the mind-body principle at its center, recognizing it as a foundational condition for dietary practices, rest, or detoxification to work fully and consistently. The third part clarifies the impact of negative emotions on the body's internal environment, particularly the mechanism through which an acidic state forms and the biological consequences that follow. When emotions such as worry, fear, or anger appear frequently and persist over time, the body enters a defensive, contracted state. In this state, the sympathetic nervous system dominates, increasing muscle tension, narrowing peripheral blood vessels, and redirecting energy flow toward short-term survival responses. The direct consequence is reduced activity of organs involved in digestion and detoxification. The acidic environment that develops is not merely a chemical condition, but also reflects an imbalance between anabolic and catabolic processes. When the body must continuously process stress signals, energy breakdown increases while the capacity for tissue regeneration and repair is limited. Contraction of internal organs, especially within the digestive tract, slows intestinal motility and obstructs the elimination of unnecessary metabolic byproducts. In this context, even a well-designed diet cannot ensure optimal absorption and utilization of nutrients. Prolonged stress also affects lymphatic circulation, reducing the transport and removal of toxins from tissues. This creates a vicious cycle in which the accumulation of unfavorable factors continues to stimulate low-grade inflammatory responses, maintain acidity, and prolong imbalance. Practical observations in healthcare show that when negative emotional factors are not recognized and adjusted, the body tends to respond poorly to supportive measures such as dietary changes or controlled fasting. Negative emotions, therefore, are not merely psychological factors, but biological agents capable of slowing or even obstructing the body's innate self-regulatory mechanisms. Understanding this relationship helps explain why many health conditions fail to improve in proportion to external lifestyle efforts, and underscores that an acidic environment created by negative emotions is a significant barrier to detoxification and physiological recovery. The fourth part highlights the role of positive emotions in creating an internal environment that supports relaxation and healing. When the mental state shifts toward calmness, gratitude, or stable joy, the parasympathetic nervous system gradually becomes dominant, allowing the body to exit a prolonged defensive state. In this condition, heart rate tends to slow and stabilize. Breathing becomes deeper and more rhythmic, facilitating effective gas exchange and oxygen delivery to tissues. The biological environment correspondingly shifts toward relative alkalinity, reflecting a balance between metabolic activity and recovery processes. Relaxation of the nervous system allows internal organs, especially the digestive system, to reduce excessive contraction and restore normal physiological motility. This supports smoother digestion, nutrient absorption, and elimination of metabolic byproducts. Practical observations indicate that when the body is in a relaxed state, inherent self-regulating mechanisms function more effectively, including processes related to tissue regeneration and internal balance. Natural health literature often emphasizes that positive emotions are not merely of spiritual significance, but are biological conditions necessary for the body to enter a mode of conservation and repair. In this context, moderate eating or sensible fasting is no longer experienced as physiological stress, but as a deliberate period of rest for the digestive system and the body as a whole. When the mind becomes calm, endocrine and neural signals tend to synchronize, optimizing energy use for recovery rather than stress responses. Cultivating positive emotions thus acts as a catalyst, enhancing the effectiveness of other health practices without complex intervention. Understanding this mechanism allows positive emotions to be seen as an inseparable part of a comprehensive healing strategy, in which inner calm becomes the foundation for balanced and sustainable bodily function. The final part synthesizes and closes the overarching line of reasoning, emphasizing the central message that health is the result of a continuous interaction between what humans take in from the outside and their inner mental state. In reality, differences in health status cannot be fully explained by diet, daily habits, or environmental factors alone. Two individuals may be exposed to the same foods and living conditions, yet their physiological responses and recovery capacities differ significantly, reflecting the foundational role of mental life in shaping the body's internal environment. When the mind remains in a prolonged state of imbalance, biological mechanisms tend to prioritize short-term adaptive responses, reducing the effectiveness of external health efforts. Conversely, when the mind is guided towards stability and positivity, the body gains the conditions necessary to activate its inherent self-regulating and restorative processes. From this perspective, healing the body cannot be separated from nurturing and adjusting the mind. Choosing healthy thoughts becomes a conscious act, comparable to selecting appropriate food for physiological needs. Each repeated thought contributes to shaping the internal biological environment, either supporting or obstructing metabolic and regenerative processes. A comprehensive approach to health therefore requires a harmonious integration of physical care and mental orientation. The core message of this conclusion is a reminder that human beings are responsible not only for what they put into their bodies, but also for the mental states they maintain. When thoughts are chosen consciously and oriented toward inner calm and order, the body tends to respond with greater stability and resilience. This is not an abstract concept, but a practical principle that reflects the close relationship between mind and physiology. Viewing health through this lens helps shape a more sustainable approach, in which healing is not merely the treatment of symptoms, but the construction of a solid internal foundation that allows the body to function harmoniously over the long term. The entire content has clarified a consistent principle. Human health is not determined solely by what enters the body, but also by the mental state maintained each day. Thoughts and emotions do not exist separately from physiology. They continuously influence the internal environment through specific biological reactions. Prolonged negative emotions can push the body into contraction and imbalance, reducing the effectiveness of digestion, detoxification, and recovery. In contrast, when the mind is stable and positive, the body can shift into a relaxed state, activating its inherent self-regulating mechanisms. Differences in health between individuals therefore cannot be fully understood by examining diet or surface lifestyle alone, but must be placed within the context of the close relationship between body and mind. An important lesson that emerges is that healthcare must be approached as a holistic process, in which choosing and maintaining a healthy mental state holds value equal to choosing appropriate food. In practice, this can be applied by observing and adjusting repetitive daily thoughts, creating space for inner calm through rest, slow breathing, and a more balanced pace of life, thereby supporting the body's effective long-term function. In your view, which factor is currently influencing your health more, your diet or your mental state? If you would like to continue exploring practical, natural healing knowledge, please fill out the form in the description to receive a health ebook gift, and subscribe to the channel, like, and share this video to support us in continuing to deliver valuable and trustworthy content.